Michelle Keegan, Program Director with AROSE. Thank you very much for joining us on Australian Space TV.
Thanks, Chris.
AROSE is the Australian Remote Operations in Space and on Earth. We have had previous AROSE members on before. So you are basically leading the Trailblazer project for AROSE and the Program Director for that. Definitely keen to learn more about your role. You've got a very interesting background too, from a sort of a cross-sector perspective as well. But yeah, Program Director with AROSE, what does that involve?
Yeah, thanks, Chris. And I guess at AROSE, we were lucky enough to be awarded a grant from the Space Agency to kick off the preliminary design of the Lunar Rover. We have a very strong technical team, and that's led by Dawn McIntosh from Fugro. My role as Program Director really sits across both the technical elements, as well as predominantly we have a focus on STEM outreach and some fundraising to look at how to ensure that we have the right funds in place to support us into stage 2. But one of the really exciting things that we're kicking off right at the beginning of this phase of stage 1 of the preliminary design is bringing the resources sector to the table. At AROSE, we formed a resource advisory board around 12 months ago, and we did that as we were preparing the bid for stage 1 for Trailblazer. And the intention was that we really wanted to be able to tap into the resources sector and their strong history and experience in remote operations capability. And hence the Resource Advisory Board was formed with a number of people representing both really innovative mindsets, as well as a great cross-section across the industry, not just from mining companies, but also from the MET sector, the sector that really supports with both physical technology, digital technology, and the services they provide, both in Australia and overseas. We really think there's opportunity for the MET sector as well. And so with this Resource Advisory Board, we've taken them on the journey for Trailblazer from the outset. We've let them know, where we see as our competitive advantage within this. And now we're bringing them to the table to look at the concept of operations, to bring their mining background to that concept of operations, to give us guidance from how they would normally look at this from a mining value chain perspective. And we'll continue to bring them along as we work our way through to the PDR or preliminary design middle of 2024.
Nice. I hear a lot of discussion. It's very broad when you look at sort of the mining resources sector and space and where that is and how the two are coming together to collaborate and share. I'm hearing a mix between, because it's very broad in terms of the sharing capability, really, because there's so many touch points there. Who's learning more off each other, do you think? Is there a lean towards, okay, the space sector is actually learning a lot more than what it would otherwise from resources sector, given how advanced that is, particularly in Western Australia? Or do you think the resources sector is going, okay, wow, we're actually getting a whole lot of new ideas out of the space sector? Is there a lean, or do you think it's a 50-50 split?
Yeah, it would be hard to say it's one or the other that is really going to learn more. I think, we hope that it is 50-50. And right now, at this early stage, I guess we continue to explore what each other's capabilities are, what each other's challenges are, and therefore where are the overlaps. 2 weeks ago, I was actually at the World Mining Congress. This is the first time it was ever held in Australia. And I presented a paper on how could the space industry help solve for our largest mining challenges. And this was presented within a session that included both Jerry Sanders from NASA, Sam Webster, who's leading Trailblazer from the Australian Space Agency, and then myself from AROSE, bringing to bear some of the insights from the resources sector. We heard across the conference that the largest challenges that we are facing, also represented in the paper, were that we need to get to zero emissions, we need to get to zero harm, we need to get to zero waste. There's urgency in the need to solve all of these, and it was well recognised that we need collaboration, not just within our sectors, but across sectors. With the Moon to Mars program now underway and the Trailblazer program in place, this is really a tangible point in time where things are moving forward, a tangible point where people realise that this isn't a dream, this is a reality. Work is happening, and there is distinct plans to get to the moon, and then Mars after that, and beyond. And with a number of missions coming up, we're starting to understand more about where not only the Australian sector is interested from the space industry, but also the UK and Canada. And so, for us at AROSE, we've started to uncover some of the big challenges. There are 5 big challenges we've identified, and this includes things like, how do we explore faster? We can't solve for decarbonisation if we can't find the critical minerals. It takes up to 12 years to find a resource and to start to mine that. This isn't good enough into the future. And so we're looking to the space sector to see how we could use a combination of satellite imagery and satellite comms to support this. We also have, as an organisation at AROSE, been invited to speak at NASA earlier this year in combination with the United States Geological Service group to look at, what does the resources sector bring, what are some of the capabilities we have, as with the space sector. And we've started to narrow down on areas that are really specific to helping us improve certainty around ore bodies, and the pace at which we can start to both find critical minerals on Earth, but also discover more around the lunar surface. It was a fantastic session to be able to participate in, and I guess there was really a lot of aha moments from across sectors that we really believed that there was a need to collaborate. There was a cross-sector capability area identified, the observation gaps understood, and agreed paths forward.
I did an interview just recently. We'll have it out next week with Peter Martinez from the Secure World Foundation, talking about space sustainability and in particular, but also space governance. I might just, as a program director, we're going to touch on the Milo Academy very shortly, but just in terms of governance and policy settings, do you think there's much been taken out of that as well as the technology and operations? And you mentioned sustainability. Is there much around governance and policy setting that the sectors are learning from?
I think, I probably have to say we are early days here, but there's certainly a recognition from the Space Agency that, we can bring the mining sector to the table with regards to sustainability. We have an enormous amount of experience in how we've built mines, worked with communities, worked with Indigenous groups around how do we mine, safely, to protect the environment that we work within, and how do we continue to improve this. This isn't just around, how do we work with the community, but it's also how do we ensure sustainability of water in those regions? How do we minimize footprint? How do we think about energy? How do we think about doing this as a collective? And so really when it comes to policy, I really think one of the large next steps that we're starting to lean into is around how do we bring that background we have on sustainability in mining the resources that we do around the globe. How do we work with those communities, and how do we continue to do that? And how do we think about our steps on the moon or Mars in a really fresh way, and bring that fresh approach back to Earth as well? It doesn't matter where we go, we want to ensure that we leave a smaller footprint, as possible. And so another enormous area that I think that we can learn from in the space sector here at a technical level is, and I guess Jerry Sanders talks to this from NASA, that the waste stream of one person is the raw material for the next person. Yeah. And so if we think about, going to an area to mine a specific commodity, these commodities are a very small percentage within the host ground. And so if we can identify all of the other minerals and elements within those waste streams, and find processing technologies to enable end products for every single stream, this is really where we want to go. And if we can have an impact around policy and bring our thoughts to the table from both the space sector and the resources sector, I firmly believe we can get to a much better position into the future. Not only that, that will actually throw up many more novel methods for mining and exploration as well.
Oh, definitely. There's got to be so much there that they can do better. Continual improvement, really, at the end of the day. And I suppose that continual improvement, future workforce, something that AROSE has done. You've signed a memorandum of understanding with the Milo Space Academy. That's out of the Arizona State University. Just to introduce us to that and where that's currently at, because that was only a month old in terms of that actual announcement.
Yeah, and for us, it's a really exciting announcement. We were lucky enough to meet the team that created the program. It's been running for about 3 years in the US, and it was actually a collaboration originally between NASA and Arizona State University, and their goal really was to be able to work out how to make space accessible to all. So with that in mind, they set about working with the industry in the US to understand what is it that aerospace companies and the agency really wanted from students when they finished, not just at university, but at the community college or TAFE, as we call it in Australia, so that this program could be designed to enable them to be very work ready when they entered the workforce. And so they designed a program that is a 12-week online program, which is run by people out of the US with very strong background in the space sector, very strong technical background, many soft skills also taught. And in fact, the aerospace industry in the US said that the one biggest thing that they wanted students to get out of this program was actually about how to work as a team, how to be able to take requirements at the beginning, come together across multiple types of experiences and effectively functions, and get to a preliminary design within 12 weeks. So this is an amazing experience that students have. And while in the US at the moment, there isn't any credits for this, they have a 93% completion rate.
Right.
They have very strong statistics around both gender diversity and I guess different socioeconomic backgrounds. And so in bringing this to Australia, the real reason why we did this is we have a focus on wanting to support the growth of the space industry. We also see that there's a huge overlap in bringing these kind of skills to bear, not just for the space sector, but for defence, for resources, and also other high-tech industries that are starting to begin and grow in Australia. And so we think it's a cross-sector skill opportunity. We think that across different degrees or diplomas or courses across these universities, there are certainly a lot of great projects that people learn, but they don't always get this in-depth project experience. We're actually hoping that kids will or young adults will jump into this program, and hopefully they get more of an insight in what the space sector could mean to them, and it may take them down a path that lands them in degrees at universities across Australia or into TAFE courses across Australia, across robotics, automation, mechanical, electrical, other engineering disciplines. We're also hoping that other business people, join Milo when they take up this course. So we're hoping to kick this off early in 2024.
Right.
We'll be working with the Milo program to be able to roll out further communication around what the sector is, why should you join, and also, how can people in remote regions also join as well? We really want to take on that mantra of making space accessible to all, and therefore it's important to have both TAFE, university, and early stage grads all be able to take up this course. We're also talking with Monash University such that we can effectively partner in some way with the National Indigenous Space Academy, which they've launched, to ensure that we can also reach the same groups that they reach out to support those students potentially before they go to JPL. It's a Monash program, but we really see there's an opportunity to partner with them and support them as well.
Great. Do you think there is that perception that space is not accessible to everyone? Do you think that particularly even here in Australia, I think given there's still a lot of discussion around that perception that it's a bit too technical or too complex. Do you think that perception needs to be broken down?
Oh, absolutely. And I think, this is one of the largest efforts that we have at AROSE is continuing to create more awareness of the space sector, what it has to offer, what it is that we leverage every day, and how can you get involved to both study and work in this industry in Australia. The Space Agency was only created in 2018. That's not that long ago. And so there are either, people that still think it's not possible to work in this sector in Australia, or people that just aren't aware of what's already happening. And so, yeah, we really hope, as you indicate, that this isn't just an opportunity for people to take learning from this course, but also learn more about the space sector and hopefully inspire more to be a part of this. At the end of the day, this helps to create jobs and create economic growth. There's an enormous focus on more high-end industries in Australia, things like robotics, automation, AI, are all really important within that, but equally working within a team to design, the products and the services that are required to by bringing these capabilities together.
Where do you think the need for some skills? Do you see any potential gaps at the moment, or opportunities?
Yeah, I think this course, in many respects, also is a way to gain an internship that is otherwise very hard for students to get. It doesn't matter kind of where you talk. There are a number of space businesses in Australia. There are a few very large ones, but many kind of medium to small. And so there isn't always the opportunity to come in and do an internship. And so, this program actually enables, young adults to be able to gain an online internship. NASA actually said to the academy that they found the students were job ready when they came to them. The academy in 12 weeks did what it took them 3 years to do previously. So, to think that kids, across any sector can gain this kind of experience, it's enormous. I think when you talk across, I'm just talking about the resources industry at the moment because that's where a lot of my background is, but we also, find that there are more jobs than there are people. We know that we wanted to both diversify, our workforce to bring other people in and other thought from other industries. And so, I really hope that, this skill set actually enables more of that cross-sector kind of movement, to and from multiple times potentially between, mining, space, defence and other areas. But yeah, in this way we can, form other methods of collaboration, via the skills and knowledge transfer.
Nice. Well, I heard just yesterday, or the other day, even just getting someone who's very good at a sort of bike mechanic can get into a sector like space because that transfer of skills is very relevant. I suppose a call to action. We've got the Indo-Pacific Space and Earth Conference in Perth. Any program coming up for the rest of the year for AROSE in particular? So, what would the audience be looking out for?
Oh, yeah, I think it's an amazing conference, and amazing to hold this in Perth, the first of its kind, really, in Australia. And so the intention there is to bring, multiple sectors together: space, resources, agriculture, and others. So I think, for AROSE, we'll be talking more around, what we're doing, both with the defence sector, the resources sector, and in space. And we'll be creating calls to action to continue to work with us to find those opportunities, to use space technology and approaches to solve for the challenges. We continue to open these up and unlock these and discussions that we have across industry, and really hoping by bringing together both people from NASA, other countries, other sectors, that these kind of discussions will actually enable the collaboration that we so hope for.
Well, that's the 23rd to the 24th of October in Perth. And as you say, the programs come together very nicely. There's some 50, 60 speakers from at least 8 countries. So it does look very impressive so far. Look, Michelle Keegan with AROSE, it's arose.org.au. We'll have the link in the show notes as well. But best of luck with the program that you are working on. It's not a short-term thing. As you say, it's only at phase 1, preliminary design phase at this stage, but we'll hear more as you progress. But Michelle Keegan, Program Director with the Australian Remote Operations in Space and on Earth, AROSE otherwise. Thanks very much for joining us on Australia in Space TV.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks for the opportunity.